welcome back to Fika for Life.
That was really good. I was like,
My name is Linh Nguyen and my co-host is
Edward Thomas.
Hello, Edward Thomas.
Hello, Linh Nguyen.
Lamar.
Wait, I always forget your middle name. It's like starts with a T. I remember that.
No, we're not going to talk about that.
Yes.
No.
We
continue to talk about our being supportive friends.
Yes.
I think this episode should be dedicated to how to be a supporting friend.
How to be. Yes.
So, go.
First, you have to go to college, and you have to get a bachelor's in being a good friend instead of messing up friendship.
I think you should first get friends.
Okay. Yeah. If you don't have any friends, you can't. So
It's hard to be a supporting friend.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things. It's like riding a bike.
Yeah.
You got to practice it.
You got to get a bike.
Yeah.
In order to learn
And then you
to
have
ride
to learn
a
how to
bike.
balance on it. You got to get training wheels, and then you get to ride around, and then you get better and better at it. So, no, I think that if you're gonna be a supportive friend, first you have to have friends, and it's a decision you make. It's like love.
Wow.
You choose. Like you choose to love someone. No one forces you to love one. And it's not a feeling. It's a decision you make about how to treat someone, not based on what they deserve, but on what how you decided to love them.
But I think still, though, that usually you get friends by having some common interest or area.
Or a common person. So you become friends because you know you have
Someone
a common friend. And
has a common friend.
Yeah.
But then usually you click. You don't become friends. Or I don't become friends with everyone I'm meeting just because of someone else.
Uh-huh.
You have to click. Like you have
I can become friends with anyone.
I know you're weird, but our listeners are not weird. So I think that usually you have something in common. You have good personal chemistry. It's easy to talk.
Yeah.
I'm usually not friends with people that are difficult to talk with.
Really? I am.
Yeah, you.
And it's hard. But it's hard because
it's too straining for me.
Sometimes it's like, but those people I don't get to see that often because what happens is that I feel like it's like if I ask you how are you doing and you say fine. What did you do last week? Like normal. Okay.
Do you have any plans for future?
No. Exactly. Those one-word answers, it's just not enough to build a conversation out of.
Not enough to build a friendship on.
And so I'm just like, oh, okay, what should I say? And then all of a sudden, either I will say nothing, and then everything just dies. Like it's
silent.
Okay, let's go. See you. Bye.
But I think a good friend. Yeah.
I get faucet mouth, and I just start running. Just.
Then you're going to be a talker, and they're just quiet.
And they're just sitting there absorbing all my wisdom, babble. Idiots, being an idiot.
But I think you can only be friends with that kind of people then if you have some activity together. Fishing, playing badminton.
Things where you have to be quiet.
No, playing badminton, like some activity you're doing together.
Okay. Yeah.
Then you can be friends with a person who's just like one word answers.
Yeah. No, but and I know that some people have a difficult time expressing themselves. They have a difficult time. Like I would love to climb into someone's mind who has a difficult time of expressing themselves. Because I want to know, do you feel anything?
We can ask Jonas. He's always...
Really? No, but he feels things.
Yeah, he feels things, but he has a difficult... It's difficult for him to put it into words. Like he would start a sentence and then in the middle he would stop because he had a new thought or he rethought it. And then he starts a new sentence on that. And then it's like just... Three starts of sentences, and I'm like, "What is it you want to say? Just say what you want to say."
And then that's what he's saying. She's like, the reason I don't like to listen to you, and the reason I have to interrupt you, Ed, is because your sentences are just so long and complicated. True. She's like, I get lost. She's like, I'm like, what do you mean? It all hangs together. It's a long sentence because I really have a lot of things to express. I feel things all the time. And I feel them in very complicated ways.
Such
I'm never
female structure.
I'm just never angry. I'm never just happy.
you're happy, but also a bit sad and a bit angry too,
exactly.
and a bit depressed,
and I have to tell
but
you
also
why.
really excited.
And I have to explain why for each thing so that you know, because I want you to know.
I think a good rule is take one and give one. Take a question and give a question. This is how you make someone asks you something, so you answer that, and then you ask them back for something, either the same.
Yeah, but that's if you want a conversation to actually continue. If the person's a conversation killer, you'll never you'll ask someone. So I'll ask you, "Hey, how's it going today?" Fine. That person will never ask me how it's going for me.
Yeah, but I mean, for people who have difficulties keeping up a conversation, but they would like to, but they don't know how.
Yeah, but they don't. Even if you say, you can ask me how I'm doing. Oh, really? It's like,
so how are you doing?
Like,
good.
Okay, so I'm like, well, listen, let me tell you what's happening today. I'm trying to help them, But
okay.
yeah, so
having friends,
being able to talk to someone. If you want to be a good friend, you have to be both a good listener and you also have to be a good talker. You have to be able to converse with that person. You don't have to be great at it.
No.
You just have to be able to share,
exchange information.
Yeah, on an equal level, like you were saying.
Yeah.
Give and take. If someone says, "How are you doing?" you ask them how they're doing. If someone says, "Hey, I heard you got a new job." Yeah, well, how's it going at your job? I mean, you always ask a follow-up question, and that keeps the conversation flowing, and it doesn't put all the weight on one person. So that's one thing, the conversation thing.
And the listening thing, I think, can be even more difficult, especially if you're
especially if you interrupt people.
Yeah, especially
and you don't let people talk. You never let them get a word in.
I think it's especially difficult when you're an extrovert to just listen, to be able to just listen. And I have to reflect on it several times when I talk to other people, that they might tell a story and then you're like, oh, but I also, and then suddenly it becomes your story, and that's really annoying for the other person. Yeah. So I sometimes I tell my story and I'm like, oh, sorry, it's your, what did you want to say about that? It was your story. I'm sorry.
I'm not awake.
Yeah. So.
No. Yeah, but it's hard sometimes. I think that.
And to remember things.
I wish that people who are not extroverts would really try to understand us. Because
us extroverts.
Yes. Because your life it's just supercharged. It's
things happening all the time.
I know. It feels like, there's so many things to talk about, so many things to experience, so many things to do.
Yeah.
There's and it never ends.
No.
It's like a roller coaster ride that goes on for 2 hours.
Forever.
Could you imagine? Wow! It's every time you think it's all over. No, there's another dip, another turn, backwards, upside down. It's oh, so great. So
excited.
I know. And it makes, I think, extroverts, a lot of us are just easily excitable about things.
Yeah.
We're like gunpowder. We only need a little spark. It's just take off, And so
I could talk about anything.
Yeah, me too.
Just bring it on.
Someone asked me.
It's not about knowledge, though. It's more about how you talk about it. You can ask questions, and then somehow it will go to an area that you have some knowledge about, and then it's
someone asked me once. He says, "Do you honestly really think that you could do a sermon with only 5 minutes notice?" I'm like, 5 minutes? That's a lot of time.
Yeah. I can do it. Just
I'm like, sure,
wing it. I can wing it.
I'm like, listen, I read a lot. It happens to be an area I know a lot about. If it was something like, could I build a rocket? No, I can't. I don't have enough experience. But if I have experience, I would try. Because that's what it feels like in my head.
Oh, you can talk about gardening.
Oh, yeah.
Ever.
You could always switch things around. God, food, gardening, photography. There's just a world full of things to talk about, you know. So I think that for extroverts, you have to practice. So listening is a skill, and you have to practice the skill of listening. And you're biting your tongue, you're sitting on your hands, and your mouth just wants to explode with words. And you got to contain them.
I usually like to ride car with people because that is when I can listen to them.
Okay.
This is because I can concentrate better while I'm doing some manual thing.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, I guess if you came out to my garden, because in the garden I don't talk most of the time. It's just me and the worms. That's not much to talk about. And the poop.
And the snails.
And the snails. the enemy of God's people. Snails. And so if you came to my garden and you just wanted to talk, you don't want any advice, you just want to get off your chest, then you should meet me in my garden. Just let me dig around. I'm listening to you.
Yeah.
But, I'm digging the dirt. I'm just not saying anything. I'm just like, okay. But I think that the listening and the speaking thing are really important to being a supportive friend, because most people become deeper friends with you because they feel like you care about them, and you make them feel good about themselves because you're interested in them.
I mean, the asking question thing is really important.
Yeah.
Like even when you're listening, I think you should be actively listening.
You mean not like husbands listen to their wives and they go, could you do the dishes?
Then 2 hours later, I asked you to, and you said yes. And
what? Yeah. Okay.
I think that's the thing when I say about remembering. Like when people told you something, that you should have some kind of remembrance of what they said. Because otherwise you meet them again. They're like, oh, I told you last time, and you're like, blank. No idea.
But that's for me, that's a tool of counseling. So when I've learned to do counseling for people is to actually pray to God to take away everything. So I don't remember anything anyone says to me in counseling.
Really?
Which means that every time you meet me, no, it's really good because it means
in counseling.
It means that I don't
fresh
I
eyes.
don't it's hard to tell someone so to mess up and something slips out when you don't remember anything. And then what happens is that counseling session is that session. So I see a session as contained, even though we may be talking about the same issue several times. But I feel like every time you talk about it, there's a new aspect there's a new development in it or something like that.
But that's for counseling. But I think when you're friends, you should remember things.
Yeah, but that's the thing is that, so because I counsel people, I try to get people to understand I don't want to be your counselor. I can't be, if I'm going to counsel, that's not really true because I do counsel some of my friends, but it's in a different kind of way.
Maybe if you counsel good things like marriage counseling.
Yeah, I mean,
like before they get married and stuff.
I mean, it's kind of part of being a priest. So there's going to be some counseling. And if you're friends with people in the church, then there's going to be some counseling and stuff like that. But if it's people who I'm not friends with, then I don't want to be their counselor. Someone's at the door. I wonder who it is.
Yeah.
Oh, well, not our problem. And so I don't want to be friends with everyone I counsel. So,
no,
and so sometimes when
it's too close.
And sometimes that's what happens. That sometimes when you're counseling people, because maybe they have no one else to talk to.
That's sad.
And so people feel like, oh, but we're so close, we're friends. No, this is like a professional kind of thing. Yeah. And so that's and so. All right. Well, we just went to the door and answered the door, and someone really needed to come in, so we had to answer them, which means that our brain, has just stopped working. We have no idea what we were talking about, but we're going to keep talking anyway. Yeah, because that's what we do.
We were talking about first about being a good talker, conversationalist. Yeah, and then about listening, that we should be good at listening. I was talking about active listening.
Yes, you were.
Active listening is when you're actually listening and you're maybe even asking questions.
Yeah, that's what you said.
About.
You said that already.
Yeah. I'm sorry. So you were listening?
Yes, I was listening to you, Lynn. I remember everything you say.
I think also that a really supportive friend is a person who can share in your joy, but also in your sorrow.
In your pain, yeah. Yeah, and that's a good way of being a supportive. So a supportive friend would be...
really happy for you.
Like happy for you when things go good for you, even if it doesn't go well
good for them. And especially maybe even when you both wanted the same thing.
Yeah.
And they don't get it, but you get it. No jealousy or envy.
I think that sometimes, so one of the things that can hurt a friendship is when people limit the other person's progress in life. So
joy.
Say two people are applying for the same job. And the one person says, oh, but I really wanted this job.
Yeah.
And if you were really my friend,
you let me have the job.
Yeah, and so sometimes there goes the guilt, and you go, okay, I want to be a good friend. I don't want to lose our friendship.
And then maybe they're blackmailing you emotionally, like, but I have a family and you don't. And I have to support them, and my mom is sick.
Yeah, and you said you would be there for me, and how are you being there for me if you're competing against me?
Oh, that's such Those people are not your friends, though.
I remember in high school there was this a good friend of mine, and we both liked the same girl.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, you always talk to all the girls, and everyone likes you. He goes, just this one time you could let me have a girl.
Wow.
And so what happened? And then he treats her like crap. And then I was like,
what you do?
And then years later, we were talking as friends and stuff. And I was like, back in high school, I really wanted to ask you out. She goes, oh my gosh, you should have, because I would have gone out with you. She was Chinese.
Obviously. Who else?
But I was like, but I did that thinking like, oh, I need to support my friend.
That was stupid.
But then why would your friend ask you to do that? Like, and so a supportive friend, even if you both like the same person and you're the one that doesn't get that person,
mm-hmm.
you're still happy for that person because you're happy, genuinely happy for your friend's happiness.
Yeah, for their joy.
And that's a really good friend.
Yeah,
that's a really supportive friend who can still be friends with you, even
though
you guys
you
were
have
competing at something.
You have
or competing against each other. I have so one of my a guy that I grew up with, Ryan. He's dead now, unfortunately. But when we were like in orchestra,
mm-hmm.
and I always wanted to be first chair in clarinet. But Ryan was a better clarinet player, and I was always second. I was always second chair to him.
Yeah.
But that never stopped us from being friends. We used to compete in tennis. He beat me in tennis all the time too. Couldn't beat me in basketball though, could he? No. And so, but that never stopped us from being friends. Because that's a good friend. A good friend is happy for your success, as well as being there for the pain.
Yeah.
So a good friend should be there for you when, not because they always understand what you're going through, but they're just there.
Yeah.
It's sort of like in the beginning of, for those who've read the Bible, there's a guy named Job, and Job has lost all his kids, and now he's covered all these sores over his body. He's just like stinky and pussy and everything.
That's awful.
And so his friends come, and for 7 days they just sit.
With him.
The advice they give later, they're not such good friends, but they just put him down. But for those 7 days when they're just sitting there
being with him,
they know they can't do anything to make him feel better. So they can't do anything to heal his body. They can't do anything about his loss of property and family or anything. But they enter into his grief and share his grief with him, and that's a good
they
friend.
suffer with him.
Yeah, and that's a really, really supportive friend who's not just
or make you feel bad for your pain.
Yeah, well, there's an expression in English called fair weather friends. Friends that can only be your friends when good things happen.
Yeah,
but when things are bad, they abandon you.
Yeah, because they're like, oh no.
Yeah, I can't. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm so busy.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry.
I have so many things going on in my life. You understand? Yeah, I understand. You're fake. And so that's a really good indication. So if you really want to build really strong friendships and you really want to be supportive, you have to decide that you're going to be there for the thick and the thin of it. Otherwise, you can't be a supportive friend, and not everyone's cut out for that.
No,
I do have some fair weather friends. Love it when great things are happening. I invite them into the door. When things start to go bad, I kick them out because
they will leave.
They just leave. I know, but I'd rather kick them out because that's better than them just leaving. I feel more empowered. So.
They're like, bye bye. But I think also when you talk about like sharing the pain and grief, I think really supportive friends are also friends who tell you the truth.
That's that honesty part about being a good friend. That friends will.
And I think when they are your friends, I think you will also take it differently. Even if someone else would say the same thing, but if it comes from a friend, from your good friend, so you're supporting friends.
Because it's coming from a position of love. You're like, like they're not out to gain anything by it or something like that.
They don't want to hurt you.
Yeah, they really actually care about you.
Yeah.
And so this is information you really need to know because you're jacking things up. And so it has to come from the right source, the right direction and stuff like that.
That's why I think sometimes I don't dare to say certain things to certain people because I feel like I'm not in a position to bring this up or point this out because I'm not that close to them. So
no, I mean sometimes, and you can always test that. So if you have a friend who really needs to hear something, and you start to tell them, and they get defensive. Just drop it. You already know they're not open. They're not ready for change or transformation in their life.
No.
They're stuck where they're stuck. And sometimes you just gotta. And sometimes a good friend lets friends go.
Yeah.
If you're really a supportive friend, sometimes if you find out that that relationship is toxic, any person in your life who brings more of the bad things out of you than the good things is a toxic person. And you really shouldn't have them as a good friend. And you can't be supportive to that person because their effect upon your life is something negative. And if you try to be supportive to that, all you're going to do is support negativity in yourself. So sometimes for your own health and to
Cut
be really,
them loose.
you got to just, some people are not the friends you're going to have for life. They're just friends for that journey. The journey's over. See ya. And it's not being cruel or anything.
That's my friends.
Yeah, really? Is that your friends?
Yeah, they're just you and me. So that's
I'm going to
why
be your friend until I'm senile.
You're like, who are you?
You'll come to visit me. I'm like, who's this lady? You're not an old girlfriend or anything, are you?
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, oh, I'm sorry if I did anything offensive to you. Yeah, well, you borrowed money from, take all I have.
No, that's bad. They're not bad friends.
That's, you're not being a supportive friend.
And do you think you can only be a supportive friend when you are having a lot of contact, or how does those things work?
I think so. So that deep friendship is not based on you have to be with me all the time. Demanding friendship.
A lot of work.
Yeah, that's just too much. But I mean, it's sort of like, so when Raymond and I see each other, it's almost like we were just friends yesterday. If I talk to Hamid on the telephone, we don't talk every single day, but every now and then we'll like chat, and it's just like, I just talked to her yesterday.
We talked like yesterday.
Yeah.
Like for real, Hamid and me.
Oh, you did? Okay. Yeah. She didn't talk to me. Why does she hate me so much?
No. I commented on her Instagram story, and she's like,
oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I have to go watch that. Okay. And so, and I think that's that thing, like we know we live in different countries now. We know like in our daily life there's things we're not sharing, but we know like big things that happen. I mean, I remember when my oldest son Eddie was born, and he had Down syndrome, and Ray and Carol were there, and they were like really supportive. They've always been supportive, and that meant like a lot to me, and stuff, and it still does, and so having that kind of friendship that goes through those different phases of life. Yeah. Those people are just there and stuff like that. And and we'll probably be friends until we die, or something like that.
Because
which
even
I
if
hope
you're...
that I go before them, because I don't want to...
You don't want to go to their funeral.
No, it's not that. I think I would just be so...
Sad.
I'd be so shaken up not having them as a part of my life anymore.
Aww.
So
friendship... I think the best friends you are having are that you're also fighting with, that you have conflict.
Oh my gosh.
And then you become friends again.
But it's really weird because me and Carol have never had a fight. Like our friendship has always been stable, very deep and loving. But me and Raymond, like sometimes we've like been really upset with each other and not talked to each other for a while. But we always end up coming right back around.
Yeah.
It's always like, hey, what's up? He's like, not too much. He's like, what are you gonna do this week? I don't know. He's like, you want to go and get I know this place, they have this really good barbecue. Okay, let's go. And then we're like, it's done. It's patched up.
Yeah, but that's because you had a time where you were really intense friends.
Yeah.
So that is something that you're like building the foundation on.
Yeah. So good, and that supportive friendship, what happens over time, it gets tested and gets stretched out, but it always seems to bounce back for some reason. There's those people who are you're going to be your friends, and you're going to be their friends. And
I feel like you always have to think about, okay, is this person worth the effort?
Oh, really? I never think about that. I'm just like,
but now we're talking about like friends that are on this transition scale.
Yeah, okay.
Not like the friends you have for a long time, but more like, okay, either we're going to be friends for life now, or I gotta cut you loose because things are happening. So I think that's something you have to think about. Is the friendship worth it? Is the foundation we build, is it strong enough to take?
Yeah, and what's the sad part, I think, sometimes is that really good friends, when you just move to a different area, and you sort of glide apart, not because you don't want to be friends with that person.
No, because life circumstances.
Sometimes it's just the thing that bound you guys together doesn't exist anymore, or life's just complexity, or you get married to a really jealous person who doesn't want you to have all these female friends if you're a guy. I don't know any personal experience about that, but I'm just putting that out there into the universe. And that makes it really difficult because you can't... I think sometimes as different things happen in your life, you're not always available to actually continue to speak to people
in the same way.
And some people don't like that, and they're like, it's like you don't really like me. And I'm like, no, and you don't want to like share all the drama of your life. You know, you just don't want to bomb people with that and stuff like that. So, you know, and when you're going through things, sometimes you can't be a good friend when you're going through stuff yourself.
Yeah. You do not have the mental capacity.
No, like a few years ago, I had trying to get out of a really bad job, and I just didn't have the
energy.
or something. I don't know. I was just really sad, and I was
drained.
Just by
depressed.
myself.
Yeah.
Maybe you were depressed. Don't say the D word. But I was depressed, and I just didn't have the energy to continue to pour into people because I didn't have anything then. I didn't have anything left to pour in. I was empty. So.
Oh, but I'm happy you're back. Being a supporting friend.
I'm trying.
Got my back.
Every day I'm trying to get stronger and stronger.
Every day I'm struggling.
If you wonder why Lynn and I are such good friends, it's just because I think we're just two peas in the same pod. I don't know. Crazy does what crazy does, you know. And so
crazy is.
Yeah.
What does?
Crazy is what? No. What is? Oh, I know we're thinking of the same movie.
Forrest Gump.
Yeah, I know. Crazy is what crazy does.
Something like that. Yeah. You guys go watch Forrest Gump. It's a good movie. It's about friendship too and love.
Yeah. Forrest Gump, what a friend! I want to.
The guy on the shrimp boat.
Show, Bubba.
Bubba, oh my god!
No, some Captain Jake.
Oh yeah, they were first. Yeah. But Bubba just didn't last because he died.
No, he died. Yeah.
But but the captain was also amazing.
Yeah. So that would be like a really good thing. I think sometimes is to have, like, to be that good friend. When I think of all the good friends that I've had, like it inspires me to want to be a good friend also.
So surround yourself with good people. If they are toxic people, cut them loose.
Ooh, please do. Please do. And if you're worried that you're not a good friend, you're probably a much better friend than what you are. People who are bad friends, don't worry about it. No. They're just like, that's your problem, you know. They really don't care about you. But if you find yourself, you're concerned, and sometimes if people accuse you of not being a good friend, sort of take that in and analyze that.
And think about it, yeah.
But it may not be true.
And it has to come from several people. Yeah. It cannot be one person who says, and then you are just, overthrown.
Exactly. Because, I mean, a lot of times people just lash out because they're hurting or they feel disappointed or they're unable to take the truth or whatever it is, that's going on inside their cuckoo head. And so sometimes people say things they're not even qualified to make that judgment.
Yeah.
So that's that. So anyway, we're hoping that this has helped someone out there. And if you haven't been helped, you come and we can give personal counseling to you. We only charge, 250 Swedish crowns an hour. So we're pretty cheap.
Nothing.
I know, it's really cheap. We should be charging like 1,000 because we're so good. We should be getting 2. So
we're two people.
We should charge 1,000 and then people should give 2,000 because
for gratitude.
Yeah, because they're like so thankful for the wisdom that just flows,
Thank you guys for listening and
thanks,
see
everyone.
you soon.
See you back here again.
Bye. Thank you for listening. If you have any comments or ideas, please send us a message to fikaforlife@mail.com. Fika, F-I-K-A. This was the Fika for Life podcast with Linh Nguyen and Edward Thomas, and we hope to hear you again.